Okay, it's about 8:30 in the morning, May 9th. I just walked outside and realized it is dead calm. So now's a good chance to get a little quick walk around of where we're at. Let's see. These posts have been in for a couple of days. They're set in concrete. That's the foundation for the house, with the exception of the last three. Ran out of posts, and little shed is in the way here still. So we're going to go buy some posts today. I need one more. These are 8-foot posts. Cut them in thirds. It works out to 32 inches long each. They're about 16 inches deep, 16 above the ground. So I'll need 1, 2, 3. Okay. I put all of these in one day. About half of the holes were dug, and then I dug the second half after I saw how well it was going, kind of thing. Okay, so that's that. I've already moved the generators out of the way because this whole line has to get cleared. Everything that's there is going to be in the way. I just got to figure out where to put it. Battery box has to move. That's going to be in the way. Solar panels have to move. They're going to be in the way. This is the solar heated hot tub water heater system. This is a 300-gallon stock tank wrapped in fiberglass insulation. And then I built an OSB box around it. There's a sump pump in there. There's a crap load of plumbing coming out. This is a hot water reservoir. This is the solar hot water heater collector. Sun shines on the black pipes. The pipes are full of water. I'm getting a timer to run the pump, so I can run the pump for instance, 1 minute and then shut it off for 15 and let these sit and get hot. About 10:30 or 11 in the morning is when these start to get hot so far. And then by about 5 o'clock or so in the afternoon, the sun has moved far enough that they don't get much heat after that again. So water comes from the tank through the pipe, that's 2 inch, and then it comes down to 1 inch, that's 1 inch flexible black pipe. And then it comes back again to the tank. The reason there's so much plumbing here, if this works, and I'm still going to be testing, the water that's here that's hot is then used to heat up water for my shower. So this water stays in the system. It doesn't get used. It just sits there and gets hot. Then I use the hot water with a heat exchanger to heat up water that then gets sent back through this insulated box to the bus for now. So my water pump that's for taking showers sends water through the heat exchanger and then back again. Okay. That will heat up the water for the shower. In theory, there's enough heat capacity in 300 gallons of water to also heat the bus and eventually the house. So I've got 1/2-inch PEX, red and blue, that goes for showers. And then this 1-inch PVC pipe is going to be for my hot water HVAC system. Still working on that part. So for now I got the valves are shut on the HVAC, but they also go through the same insulated box. So where I've been in the winter, the bus gets down to like 20, 25, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so below freezing some nights. So if I've got 300 gallons of hot water that was solar heated during the day, and if I can send that heat to the bus overnight to stabilize the temperature closer to 40 degrees would be ideal. If it's above 40, I don't run the propane heat. That's kind of the idea. And then I use up all my heat overnight, Next day, I reheat again. That's renewable, okay? That's the idea. Back to the solar panels, because they are in the way where they are. Yesterday I drilled holes here, and I'm going to rebuild the stands for the solar panels and put them in a line with these solar hot water collectors. So we'll have, tank, solar heat, 2 rows of panels. And I did the math and geometry or whatever yesterday and figured out the angles such that in the winter this row of panels doesn't shade this one, and that row of panels doesn't shade this one. So in the winter at the lowest sun, it'll all still be okay. I say that because I screwed up on this when I built this one. So we're getting better. All right. So that's that part. Still got the strings from yesterday. The battery box that's way over there is going to end up on this end. However, the old camper, which I'm calling the camper shed, it's full of storage stuff right now. When I put it here, this was out of the way because it used to be on the other side. Eventually, I'll put my shop on the other side. I had no plan of putting a house here at the time. This was kind of a new idea. So, now this is in the way again. When I moved this here, I moved it here in one piece by laying down PVC pipe and rolling it across the ground, Egyptian style. That worked really good for the first about 10 feet, and then it got very difficult after that. Mainly because there's so much stuff in the way. And I didn't take the time to move everything. I made it harder than it had to be. Anyway, now this is in the way again, so it's got to get moved again. This time I'm going to take it apart. Some of it is glued, so that might get a little bit messy. But the plan, I was really excited when I figured this out. It's going to get moved this direction again. I'm going to clear a path this way this time instead of coming, because I actually was almost into the cactus the last time I moved it. So this tank is what I use when I go to town to get drinking water. All right, that's 200 gallons. So I just call it the truck tank, because it's the cutouts in the bottom are to get around the fender flares or the fender wells on the truck. I got it on the stand because before it was awkward to pick it up off the ground all the time. Underneath it is the hydrant that I made that the green hose connects to, and that puts water into what I call the water manifold, a series of pipes and valves like these. This now runs all the way up, connects with that up there, so that water from here with the pump can go through the manifold and fill the hot tub at the other end, so I don't have to drag hoses everywhere. That was a very expensive, complicated way of moving water. And if I stopped right where I'm at now, it was completely overkill. Where these cardboard boxes are riser pipes that come off of this. And I can put tanks on all of these and expand my water holding capacity, something like that. When I get the other tanks, then the manifold will make sense. So I was way ahead of myself when I built it, but it made sense to do it once and be done. So that's kind of the plan. There's valves and stuff everywhere. So what I'm looking at now, the camper shed on the other side, because it was made to fit in the back of the truck tank would fit inside the camper shed. I would like to protect the truck tank because it was kind of expensive, and eventually the sun will break it down. So this is not quite high enough anyway. When I think it was probably right, and then I raised the ground level so water would run away from that area or something. So it's not high enough. So what I'm looking at, I'm going to take this apart, bring the camper shed over here, move it away from these cactuses. So I'll probably take this bush out and put the tank here. So I'll use the camper shed as a storage for the truck tank. Okay. And then that'll leave the hydrant open, and so I'm going to build a box around the hydrant just to protect it, because one, it's a piece of PVC sticking up out of the ground, and eventually I'm going to run into it with something and break it off. And eventually the PVC discolors when it's in the sun, so I figure that can't be good for it. So I'm going to build something around that to protect it and maybe kind of make it look sort of nice. All right. So take out a couple bushes, bring the camper shed over here, rebuild it, put the water tank in it. That'll leave the whole space underneath open, which I can then use for storage. One of the things that I really need is, for instance, the green hose is how I transfer water to the tank and from the tank. Like when I go to town, I take that hose with me, and that's how I get water into the tank. And then when I get home, I transfer it again. So the camper shed / water tank storage will also have a spot to store the green hose and other pieces of hose. I've got, hundreds of feet of air hose, water hose, garden hose, and electrical cords, extension cords. They could all get stored underneath. A future project is I would like to make 1 or 2 carts that all of the hose and cords go on. Then when I'm doing something, I can just pull the cart out, unroll all the cord and use it, and then roll it back up and push it back in again. Okay, so I'll set that up so that it fits underneath the tank. So the tank will be covered, the space underneath will be open, and we can store a lot of stuff in there. I probably can even take some of the extra trash cans that I'm not using and store them in there so they don't blow away all the time. Okay. Now, the problem is, this is a multi-step process, right? The camper shed is full of stuff, and it has to be empty to move it. And when I do move it, I'm not going to put the stuff back into it because I'm going to take it apart and reuse it for storing the water tank. So, all of the stuff that's in there has to go somewhere. There's not enough room in here. There's not enough room in the bus. When I build the house, I'll have room to put all that stuff, but in the meantime, I got to find somewhere to put it. So I could just put it here in the corner and throw a tarp over it. However, the wind is ferocious. If you notice how dirty everything is here right now. This was clean like a week ago because I used it. I had one night, and just look at the bus. Okay, just kind of ponder this for a second. All right. It rained just enough to get the bus wet, and then I had a major windstorm come through, and it blew up all the dust, and the bus just got covered. Everything got covered with this dust. All right. Solar panels were so dirty you could hardly tell they were black. So it was like it just rained just enough for the dust to stick to everything, but not enough to wash them clean again. All right. So I don't want to leave anything outside because the stuff I'm taking the time to store must have had some value because I bought it in the first place. All right. I'll leave it at that. A lot of it probably doesn't have a lot of value right now. So, even though I have started to build the house, like I put the posts in the ground, and I've got piles of lumber, and I'm going to town today to buy more piles, so I've got some over there, and some over there, and I'm going to buy more. Now I've got to stop all of that, and I'm going to extend this little shade storage area, and I'm going to extend it out closed in to just before, like just the back edge of the door, but I'm going to do the roof all the way out to about the firewall, I think. So that's about roughly 20 feet inside. I'm going to go another 4 feet, will give me 24 feet, and we'll see how that looks, kind of thing. All right. So today, I'm going to go buy the materials to build that. I'm going to copy this design, only I'm going to correct some of the mistakes I made. Live and learn, hopefully. Make it better. So that'll give me, I'm going to go, that was 8-foot roof. I'm going to go 10-foot roof, so it'll come out a little bit further. So roughly 8 to 10 feet of inside space times 20 feet long, okay? That'll give me the room I need to store what's in the camper shed on the other side. Plus, I can take some of the workbenches, move them inside, and I'll have kind of a mini shop area just for things like drill press, grinder, storage for table saw. Also, I could store lumber inside of it. You know, so all my piles that are outside, if I stack them up neatly, I could stack them in 8 feet by 4 feet. That would take up a third of the space that I'm using right now, or that I'll have available. So, yeah, right, huh? First priority is to build the house. However, to get that done, I had to get all that other stuff done. You know, I keep looking at build the house. That's my priority. But to build the house, I got to move this. And then I found a use for it, so I don't just tear it down. But I've got stuff in it. So I got to store the stuff again. And then the battery box has to move. Solar panels have to move. That also means I have to rewire all of that. This has to move first, and then I'll put the battery box probably where the generator is sitting right there right now. So that'll be behind where the house is. This is the last hole for the house. For short term, I'll probably leave the wires long and move the battery box out away so I'm not tripping over it. And then when I get the house finished, then I'll move it to its final position. There's going to be, I think, 4 feet between the bus and the house. So the battery box might end up in that aisle kind of between or something. I'm still kind of tweaking that. That's kind of flexible design, which means all the wires to the battery box have to get extended out. Solar panels, when they get moved over here, I got to rewire that. Parts of this are working out well, though. This trench that I redug, I can run power out to the solar panels. I can also run power through conduit up to run the pump. Right now I've been just running an extension cord out there. And I've got a timer coming so that I can have the pump come on only between, say, 11 o'clock in the morning and I think 5 or 6 in the afternoon is about the cutoff point. After that, the pipes aren't hot, so you're running cold water back into the tank, so it just makes more sense to just stop, right? So you run the pump 2 minutes every hour, 1 minute every 15 minutes. I'm kind of playing with that right now. But the timer will do that for me. So once I've ran the wires, it'll come from where the battery box will be. So solar power charges the batteries will run the pump. Solar heat heats the water, goes into the water tank, that heats my water for my shower, and for winter time, that should give me enough heat to keep the bus from being quite as cold. I'm not sure if it's going to be comfortable, but I can still make it up with propane. But last winter I saw 20 degrees. So if I can kick it up to 40 degrees, you know, you wear wool socks and a sweatshirt and you can actually be okay. So that's that. It's like everything has ripple chain reaction right now. You know, I look at it as, well, all I wanted to do was build the house. And I wanted it to be close to the bus. I don't think I ever really talked about that. I'm keeping the house fairly small. The front half, okay, it's actually broken down roughly into thirds, not exactly, but the front section will be what I call the house. Middle section will be storage, which will take care of stuff like what's in here eventually. Back half will be what I'm calling the tinker shop, which will be a workshop for light duty stuff. Soldering robots, airplanes, drones. I'll have my 3D printer in there. Maybe eventually some kind of like a CNC lathe or something like that, you know, so I can make some really cool stuff. Okay, that's that. So house, storage, shop, light duty stuff. The bus, once I've got the house built to where I can live in it, then I'll move all my stuff out of the bus into the house. That'll leave the bus probably 3/4 empty. Then starting at the front, I'm going to do then the bus conversion like I always wanted to do, but I had so much stuff in the bus I couldn't do it. So I'll start in the front, redo the first 10 feet as my office. So I'll have my computers back in the bus when it's finished. It'll look like the spaceship set that I've been talking about. You know, I started that a few times, but I just didn't have the room to do it. So by moving everything out of the bus, then I can go down to bare metal, insulate the walls, replace probably more of the windows, and then do wiring, a little bit of plumbing. I was going to move washer and dryer out to the house, but I'm thinking about it. I might as well leave them in the bus. So, you know, it's already kind of set up for it. So I can set that up. Some storage in the bus still, front half office, back half could be, you know, maybe I'll put some tools in there still. But there's a lot of space in there if I took everything out, okay? So if I divide and conquer, some stuff will stay in the bus, some stuff will be in the house. And then with this is really a recent idea, because I think, you know, I had been holding out hope that I could still build my big shop here. But the more I looked at it, it's like, well, I'm going to spread myself too thin. I do have some money now, but I'm going to run out eventually, all right? So the last project, which is actually the first project, right? Extending this out to here, dry storage will be from the door back, or from just behind the door. Also, the motorcycle has to find a new home. Right. So this will be for messy stuff as far as a workshop. Grinding, drill press, sanding can be out here. I'm going to leave dirt floor, semi open sides. I'm not sure if it's going to be completely open because the amount of dust that blows in is just insane. This plastic has held up very well, amazingly, and it's pretty cheap. If you see any holes, I cut these to let the bees out. Bees will get in here and cannot find their way out. It's not completely airtight, and if they look, there is ways out over the top, but they don't figure it out. They just keep hitting the plastic until they fall down dead. So, yeah. So I cut a few holes to let the bees out. You know. But honestly, it hasn't torn. You know, it's crazy. All right. So what I'm looking, probably, I like the idea of doing OSB the first 4 feet. So I'm going to probably continue that for now and give myself an option. Maybe I'll put OSB on hinges is something I'm looking at. So I'll do 4 feet of OSB and then maybe another foot or two, because this is actually a 7-foot wall on this side. So I could do OSB across the top and then do say a 16-inch panel that would have the clear plastic for when I'm in there, so it gives me a lot of light, because in the daytime, this is so bright in here, you know, because of all the plastic. You know, it's easy to get around in here. You don't trip on everything. I mean, you can see what you're doing. Obviously, you trip over all of this stuff right now. So I like the idea, and it's cheap. That's kind of a main driving factor right now. So probably, oh, and these studs are 24 inch on center instead of 16. That saved me one stud, I guess, something like that. OSB on the bottom, maybe 16 inches of plastic, and then OSB on the top, and then the 16-inch panel, I'll put a piece of OSB on a hinge that I can then put up and then put a couple latches on it to hold it closed for when I'm not in there, kind of thing. That should cut down the rustling. And as I go forward, I've seen a couple improvements I can do on this piece. Obviously, I'm going to need a door here. I left that open for a door. I'll probably take the plastic down on the back and then close that in properly. And if you notice, it is separated from the bus. That's because the bus still does move on the suspension a little bit, even though it's been leveled. Leveled and blocked. Anyway, that be that. What's that leave? The last project that I can think of right now is I've always wanted to do this. I just didn't have the resources to pull it off, but I think I can now. The bus roof, where I did that vent cover on the front, the back vent is also broken and leaks. I had plastic up there, but that blew off a couple of weeks ago. That was a hack. That's actually a hack on top of a hack on top of a hack. At least it doesn't leak now, the front one. So a galvanized roof over the bus would make it cooler inside. And if I leave the ends open of it, the wind can just blow through, take the heat with it. I'll have some shelter. All right. I can also extend it. One of the things I look at out here when I build a roof, obviously it keeps you dry, but it also catches water when it rains. I'm always looking for something that moved. Anyway, so this is actually the last priority, but that'll happen probably this year. Do a galvanized roof over the top of the bus, normal peak roof. Attach it to the bus, not as a pole barn, but actually attached to the roof of the bus. That'll be up and above the roof on this side. There's a 4-foot gap between the bus and the house. I haven't decided. This might happen because I could easily extend the roof from the bus towards the house, and then I'd have pretty dry storage in between. All right. And then combine the rain gutters together and have them go to tanks in the back is where I want the tanks. I think that kind of covers everything. A lot of this is a combination of ideas that I've been perking for since I came out here. It's like a lot of people have commented, yeah, I should build a pole barn over the bus. I agree, that would make things a lot better. My reason for holding back on that is I always wanted to build a shop. And if I'm going to spend the money building a roof that big, I would rather have it beside the bus to have my shop, right? Really, my reason for moving out here was so I could have a shop. And I still don't have my shop. But I've got some of the little stuff that I've wanted, Now I've got my MIG welder, I've got table saws and stuff like that. So I'm slowly getting there. And the awkward stage for me has always been I didn't have really good place to store it or to use it, all the tools. A lot of my projects start off with me digging stuff out of the back of the bus, getting them out, and then watching for rain clouds. So all of these little things that come together are getting me pretty close to what I really have wanted all this time. So that's basically it for now. That's your update for May 2019.